My name is Ellie. I'm the quiet one in the family. The one who always listens, rarely speaks, and never gets the credit. I'm the shadow to my sister Julia's spotlight. And that's exactly how she likes it. Julia has always been the golden child, the one who smiles just the right way, says just the right things, and somehow manages to trip and land face first into luck. If she dropped a glass, someone else would rush to clean it. If I dropped a glass, well, it would somehow be my fault for holding it wrong. Growing up, she was the star, the cheer captain, the prom queen, the girl everyone noticed. And I was the one who made her study guides and helped her write those sparkling essays she swore she did herself. So when I came up with a startup idea, something that kept me up at night sketching concepts and calculating projections, you can imagine what happened next. It started small. I'd been working on an app, a sleek, minimalist platform that connected local artisans to urban markets. Think Etsy meets Uber, with a twist. I called it Handily. And it was mine. My design, my code, my branding. But I made one mistake, told Julia. We were sitting on the patio of our parents' house, her sipping her designer latte, me typing away on my laptop. I shouldn't have said a word, but I was excited. I thought, maybe for once she'd be proud of me. Maybe she'd actually support me. I should have known better. Her eyes lit up when I explained the model, how the platform would help underrepresented creators, how I'd already coded a prototype. She leaned back in her chair and said, "Ellie, this could actually work. That should have been my first red flag." 3 weeks later, I got the second one. I was at a local pitch event, just as an observer, when I saw her on stage. Wearing a blazer she'd probably borrowed from me, standing in front of slides I had made, pitching my idea, word for word. She had renamed it Artizone, which was worse in every way. But the bones were mine. The structure, the value proposition, the entire back end, mine. I sat in that audience stunned, fingers clenched so hard I left little half-moon indents in my palms. I wanted to scream. I wanted to jump up and tell everyone. But what would that do? Julia would twist it, like always. I'd be the jealous little sister, trying to sabotage her big moment. And worst of all, people loved it. The crowd clapped. The judges nodded. One investor, a serious-looking man in a navy suit, even handed her a card. That night, I confronted her. She was in her room, removing her makeup like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just stabbed me in the back in front of an audience of potential investors. I stood at her door and said, "You stole my idea." She didn't even blink. "Oh, please," she said. "You're not going to do anything with it. You never do. You're all plans and no action. I'm just giving it life." I stared at her. "You copied my code." She looked up at me in the mirror, completely calm. "You didn't copyright anything. There's no patent. It's not theft if it's family." I could have lost it, but instead, I smiled, because she didn't know what I had already done. 2 weeks before that pitch, I had emailed the same investor, the one in the navy suit. I'd sent him my original pitch deck, along with a link to a private beta of Handily. He hadn't responded. Yet, the next few weeks were torture. Julia bragged about meetings, laughed about how easy it was to impress venture capitalists. She dropped phrases like seed round and user acquisition, as if she had even the slightest idea what any of it meant. Meanwhile, I worked. Silently. I tightened my code, refined the UI, interviewed artisans, got real testimonials. I didn't have a big stage, but I had substance. And sometimes, that's enough. Then it happened. A week before Julia was supposed to close her first round of funding, she got a call. I was in the kitchen, pretending not to listen, but I heard every word. "Yes, this is Julia," she said sweetly. Pause. Investor. "Breakfast?" "Of course. I'd be delighted." Pause. "Wait. Who did you say asked for me?" "Oh. Ellie?" Another pause. Her face turned white. I sipped my coffee, hiding a grin. That night, she burst into my room. "What did you do?" she snapped, eyes wild. I looked up from my screen, innocent. "Do?" "Mr. Bradford," she hissed. "The investor. He asked for you. By name. He said he saw your prototype. He wants to meet you. I gave a little shrug. Well, it is my idea. Julia stared at me, stunned. Then she did something I didn't expect. She cried. I didn't mean to, she said. I thought you weren't serious. I thought maybe if I pushed it, we could work together. I stood up slowly. No, Julia, you didn't think about me at all. You thought about how good you'd look standing on a stage with a microphone. You didn't care whose work you were standing on to do it. She looked at me with red, wet eyes, but I didn't feel sorry for her. Not even a little. I had worked in the dark for too long. Now it was my turn in the light, and I wasn't going to share it, especially not with her. When I showed up to the investor breakfast, Mr. Bradford stood and shook my hand. Ellie, he said, I'm glad we cleared up the confusion. Let's talk business. Julia was not invited, but this was just the beginning. Mr. Bradford was not the kind of man who wasted time. He had that polished corporate crispness, every gesture, calculated, every word intentional. When he asked to meet for breakfast, I thought we'd sit down and talk through things like professionals. Instead, he showed up with a legal pad full of notes and a team of 2 analysts. Ellie, he said, motioning to the chair across from him. I've done my homework. Oh, he had. He went through everything I had built. The code base, the market research, even the social impact angle I had quietly woven into the platform. He knew about the beta launch I'd tested with 3 local artists. He quoted back, a line from my original pitch deck, word for word. You built this alone? He asked, raising an eyebrow. I did, I said calmly, sipping my black coffee. He leaned back, clearly impressed. Then he glanced at one of the analysts, who passed him a file. He opened it, scanned a few lines, then looked up at me. I want in. I didn't smile. Not yet. Instead, I asked, what changed your mind? You ignored my first email. He gave a small, amused shrug. Julia got to me first. She was charming, sure, but her numbers were off. Her back-end didn't work. And when I asked her to walk me through the user flow, she stumbled. Classic Julia, style without substance. But then I saw your private demo, he continued. It had clarity, vision, and actual users. I figured I should probably talk to the person with the real answers. I nodded once. So, what are you offering? He smiled. Smart girl. We talked numbers, terms, control. I had leverage now, not because I had a bigger name or a louder voice, but because I had the product. I had built something real. Julia had just wrapped it in glitter and hoped no one looked too closely. When the meeting ended, he extended his hand. This could be the start of something big, he said. It already is, I replied. As I walked out of the restaurant, sunlight hit my face, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could finally breathe. No more watching Julia ride my coattails. No more staying quiet while she sparkled. I had built something, and someone finally saw it. Of course, Julia didn't take any of this quietly. When she realized Mr. Bradford had officially dropped her, she spiraled. It started with the texts. First came the guilt-tripping ones. Ellie, we're sisters. This isn't how family treats each other. Then the fake self-awareness phase. I know I messed up. But I was under pressure. Everyone expects me to be perfect. I panicked. And then my personal favorite, the threats disguised as concern. If you don't include me, you'll ruin your reputation. People won't trust you. That one made me laugh out loud. Julia thought she was the reputation, that without her, I'd vanish into obscurity. She didn't understand that the tech world doesn't care about charm. It cares about results, but I wasn't done with her. Not yet. Because revenge, when done properly, isn't loud. It's quiet. It's patient. It's surgical. And I had a plan. First, I filed the paperwork to register Handley under my name, officially, this time. Trademark. Patent application. Full legal documentation. I wasn't leaving any cracks for her to crawl through. Then I reached out to a few publications. Tech blogs, startup forums, one podcast I knew Julia worshipped. I told them, My story, not the drama, just the product, the vision, the mission. I let them find the drama on their own, and believe me, they did. One of the articles mentioned how a local pitch event had featured a suspiciously similar concept under a different name. They didn't say Julia's name outright. But the comment section, brutal. Julia called me the next day, voice trembling. You humiliated me. No, I said, calm as ever. You did that to yourself. Click. I didn't hear from her for 3 days. During that time, I got my first round of funding confirmed. The account was set, the contract signed. I officially had my own startup. With real money, real backing, real momentum. And Julia? She went into PR overdrive, deleting posts, backtracking stories, quietly removing founder of Artizone from her LinkedIn. But the internet doesn't forget. The final straw came when my mom called. She's been crying, she said. She says you betrayed her. I laughed. Betrayed her? She stole from me. You could have shared, Mom said gently. No, I said, flat. You don't share your name with a thief. There was silence on the other end, then a sigh. I just don't want this to tear you two apart. Too late. It had never been a sisterhood. Not really. I had been her stepping stone, and now I was no longer beneath her feet. At my launch event 2 weeks later, I stood in front of a crowd, small but meaningful. Artisans, investors, friends, people who had believed in me when I was still invisible. Gave a short speech. Nothing flashy, just truth. I built Handly because I believe creators deserve to be seen, I said. This platform is for the people who work quietly, who build things without needing applause, who've been overlooked and underestimated. I didn't mention Julia. I didn't have to. As the crowd clapped, I saw her. Back of the room. Sunglasses. Indoors. Jaw clenched. Good. Let her watch. Let her feel what it's like to be almost. To be the one who doesn't get the credit. To be me. Except I wasn't her. I had earned this. And I wasn't done. Not even close. Because the best part of revenge is success. And I was just getting started. By the time Handly hit its first 10,000 users, I was already fielding acquisition offers. The money was absurd. More than I had ever imagined. More than my family would have guessed I could earn in 5 lifetimes. And yet, none of it compared to what came next. Because revenge, I've learned, doesn't always come with fire and fury. Sometimes it comes in the form of a perfectly timed phone call. It was a Monday afternoon when I got the invitation. Ellie, we'd love for you to speak at the Global Women in Tech Forum, the organizer said. Keynote spot, full house, thought, leadership, and, oh, you'll be introduced by Julia Olson. She's moderating. I paused. I could have said no. But why would I? I smiled into the phone. Tell Julia I said I'm honored. Now, let me paint the scene for you. A grand stage. Massive screen behind me displaying Handly's journey. Lights dimmed to perfection. Audience full of press, CEOs, investors, tech students. Cameras recording everything. And Julia. Standing to the side in heels just half a size too tight. Holding a microphone and pretending to be composed. I walked on stage. She extended her hand with a fake smile. Everyone, please welcome Ellie Olson, founder and CEO of Handly. She said founder like it burned. I took the mic, thanked her politely, then faced the audience, and delivered the speech of my life. I told the story of Handly, not just the app, but the reason. The late nights, the ignored emails, the silence. The way invisibility can drive a woman to build something undeniable. The room was silent by the end. Then it erupted. Julia clapped too, stiffly, eyes glassy. And when I stepped down, she leaned in and whispered, "Why did you say yes to this?" I looked her dead in the eye. Because watching you introduce me was the real keynote. After that, she disappeared for a while, deleted social media, took a break from consulting, moved back in with our parents, supposedly to regroup. Meanwhile, Handly tripled its user base. We expanded to Europe. A fashion house partnered with us to launch a limited handmade collection. One of our artisans was invited to design for the Met Gala. Oh, and Mr. Bradford? He introduced me to his network. Within a month, I had 3 new mentors, people who actually saw my worth without needing to be spoon-fed charm and glitter. It was during a board meeting that the final cherry-on-top opportunity arrived. Ellie, one of the advisors, said, "There's a struggling startup trying to rebrand. They're hemorrhaging users. Thought you might want to buy them out." I skimmed the file. My laugh echoed through the room. Artisan. Oh, the poetic symmetry. I didn't hesitate. We bought the company for pennies on the dollar, mostly for the name. Then we dissolved the entire platform, absorbed what little user data was left, and redirected every Artisan web search to Handley's homepage. I didn't tell Julia. I let her find out the way I found out about her pitch. Publicly. 2 days later, she messaged me. All it said was, "You really bought my company?" I replied, "Correction. I bought mine back." No response. The next time I saw her, it was at a family dinner. Our mom had insisted, said it was time we made peace. I arrived in a new dress. Classy, black, subtle. Julia arrived in leggings and shame. The moment I walked in, the conversation stopped. Everyone was waiting to see if there'd be a scene. There wasn't. I smiled, said hello to everyone, and sat down. And when someone brought up work, I said nothing. I didn't need to. Because for once, they talked about me without me saying a word. Ellie's platform is everywhere now. She was in Forbes last week. My coworker uses Handley to buy handmade candles. Julia just stirred her drink. Eventually, she stood up and walked out. No tantrum, no fight, just silence. And honestly, that was the best revenge of all, because it wasn't about humiliating her. It was about proving to myself that I didn't need her approval. I didn't need her to validate my work. I didn't need her to believe in me before I acted. I believed in myself. That's what built Handley. Not her betrayal. Not even the investors' support. Just me, sitting at my laptop, night after night, building something no one saw coming. So when people ask me now, "What happened with your sister? Are you too close?" I smile politely and say, "We're distant collaborators in a shared origin story." And that's true, in a way. She gave me a reason to fight harder, to build smarter, to rise so far she couldn't follow. And I did. Because sometimes, the best way to silence someone who underestimated you is to make sure they're watching. When the world stops underestimating you, too.